You want to sit up? You want to make this easier? You can sit on my lap. Michael? Michael? Hi. Okay, we're in. Okay.
Kanye West hasn't been shy about his views on Beyonce, though his criticism operates on a different level than most celebrity feuds. He's not attacking her talent or her work ethic. What he's doing is pointing out something about how she's positioned within the industry system and how that positioning relates to the larger conversation he's been having about power, control, and narrative management. His criticism of Beyonce is really criticism of how the system works, and she's become a focal point for that discussion. Understanding what Kanye is actually saying requires looking past the noise and sensationalism. He's made specific documented statements about image, about the gap between narrative and reality, and about how even the most successful women in entertainment operate within systems that they don't fully acknowledge. These statements are worth examining because they point to real structural issues. One of Kanye's consistent points involves the gap between how certain artists present themselves and what they actually do. He's spoken publicly about how the industry rewards and protects people who are good at telling the right story while doing something entirely different behind closed doors. Beyonce, in his view, is an example of someone who has mastered this strategy. Kanye has suggested that Beyonce presents herself as humble and grounded, as someone focused on family and authenticity. But he's also pointed out that her actual output tells a different story. The music videos are provocative and sexual. The visual content is designed to be attention-grabbing. The performance art is boundary-pushing. There's nothing wrong with that artistically, but according to Kanye, you can't simultaneously claim to be one thing while presenting yourself as another without acknowledging the contradiction. This is part of his larger critique about authenticity in entertainment. Kanye has been increasingly focused on what he views as the performative nature of celebrity, and he's used Beyonce as an example of someone who's extremely talented at performance, but presents it as something other than what it is. Kanye has made documented statements about how certain female artists use feminist positioning while simultaneously benefiting from and perpetuating systems that he sees as fundamentally exploitative. He's not singling Beyonce out uniquely on this, but she's become a key example in his discussion of this topic. His argument is that Beyonce speaks about empowerment and women's liberation while operating within an industry structure that relies on the monetization of women's bodies and sexuality. She benefits from that system. She's positioned at the top of that system. But she frames it as liberation rather than acknowledging the actual mechanics of how she succeeded. Kanye has pointed out that true empowerment would involve questioning and disrupting the system itself. Instead, what he sees is people who've benefited enough from the system that they're now defending it and presenting their success within it as proof that the system works. That's a very different thing. Another documented criticism from Kanye involves the privilege that Beyonce has had throughout her career. He's spoken publicly about how certain people get protected by the industry in ways that others don't. Beyonce, in his view, is a prime example of someone who benefited from institutional support from day one and has never had to truly struggle against the system because the system was built to support her. She started in a major label group. She had professional management and infrastructure. She married someone already at the peak of industry power. She's had access at every stage that most artists never achieve. And yet she's positioned as someone who built herself from nothing through determination and hard work. Kanye has suggested this narrative is incomplete at best and misleading at worst. What bothers him, based on his public statements, is that people accept this narrative without questioning it. They want to believe in the self-made success story. It's inspiring, but it obscures the reality of how power actually works in the entertainment industry. Kanye has expressed something close to grudging respect for Beyonce's ability to control her own narrative. He's acknowledged that she's exceptionally good at managing how people perceive her. She determines what gets known about her. She shapes the emotional response to her image. She's mastered something that most people spend their entire careers trying to achieve partially. But in Kanye's view, this narrative control is itself part of the problem. It allows her to present a version of herself that's disconnected from reality. It allows her to claim positions and values that her actual work contradicts. And it does this so effectively that most people don't even notice the disconnect. Kanye has suggested that this is how the system perpetuates itself. By allowing people at the top to control their narratives completely, it ensures that the actual mechanics of how they got there remain hidden. People see the story they're told rather than the reality beneath it. Kanye has pointed out that Beyonce's music is created through extensive collaboration with dozens of professionals, yet she's positioned as the primary creative force. He's made statements about how this misrepresents how the creative process actually works. She's the face and the voice, but she's operating within a machine designed to execute her vision. That machine consists of producers, songwriters, engineers, and creative directors whose contributions are often invisible to audiences. In Kanye's view, this matters because it perpetuates a false narrative about how success in music actually happens. It's not one person working alone. It's always a collaboration. But when you position one person as the creative genius behind everything, You're obscuring the actual structure. And that obscuring serves the interests of the person at the top while potentially exploiting the contributions of people working behind the scenes. One of Kanye's most pointed criticisms is that Beyonce represents someone who has benefited so thoroughly from the entertainment system that she's become an enforcer of it. She didn't disrupt anything. She succeeded within the existing structure and then helped maintain that structure for others. He's made public statements suggesting that this is how systems perpetuate themselves. They co-opt the most talented people and give them enough power and resources that those people become invested in protecting the system. Beyonce, in his view, is the perfect example. She's incredibly successful, enormously powerful, and completely integrated into the system that created her. Kanye has expressed consistent frustration with what he sees as the strategic nature of Beyonce's career. Every move calculated, every statement positioned, every image carefully managed. He suggested that this leaves no room for authenticity or spontaneity. She's operating as a brand rather than as a person. While he acknowledges that she's extremely good at this, he's also suggested that it's fundamentally empty. You can be brilliant at managing your image while also being fundamentally disconnected from genuine self-expression. And in Kanye's view, that's where Beyonce operates. What's interesting about Kanye's public statements on Beyonce is that he's willing to make them despite the social cost. Most people won't engage in this kind of direct criticism of someone as powerful as Beyonce because the consequences are severe. But Kanye has decided that saying what he observes matters more than maintaining relationships or social standing. His documented criticism of Beyonce ultimately points to larger questions about how the entertainment industry works, how power operates, and how narratives are constructed to obscure reality. Whether you agree with his conclusions or not, he's raising issues that most other people are too invested in the system to address. That's what makes his commentary significant. It's not personal attack. It's systemic criticism using Beyonce as a specific example of how the system maintains itself through narrative control and the co-optation of talented people who benefit enough from the system that they stop questioning it. The question Kanye's public statements raise is whether we can have honest conversations about these dynamics without that being interpreted as hatred or jealousy. That conversation exists mostly in private. But maybe, as with the Jay-Z criticism, it's time it moved into the open. Health rumors about Beyonce are constant. At any given moment, if you search social media or tabloid sites, you'll find claims about various conditions, medications, procedures, or lifestyle choices. These rumors don't exist because there's evidence. They exist because once a claim gets circulated, it takes on a life of its own. Other sites pick it up. Social media amplifies it. Eventually, people believe it because they've seen it repeated so many times that repetition itself becomes a form of proof.